Hey, what's up guys? Josh Perez here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you are in the world watching, how you doing? So today we're checking out a movie called The Platform, or as it's known in Spanish, El Hoyo, which translates to the hole. And stay to the end of the video for my movie question of the week. Don't want to miss that one. And make sure you don't eat anything while you're watching this movie. I promise you'll thank me later. All right, let's go. So The Platform is about a man named Goreng who volunteers himself into this prison system / social experiment set in a dystopian type setting in exchange for a college degree. And this is gonna be a place where he's gonna spend quite a bit of time in quite a few months, but little does he know of the horrors and the reality of what is happening in that system. And I don't think he quite realizes what he's even getting himself into. So the way the prison system works in this movie is that there are 300 and something floors, each floor containing 2 prisoners, and in the center of those floors there is a hole where a platform ascends and descends carrying food, wine, drinks, and it only stops at each floor for a few minutes, allowing those prisoners to eat what they can in that amount of time, and then the platform just descends again to the next floor. The only catch is that the more the platform descends, the less likely there will be any food left for those at the bottom. So the other bonus on top of that is that after every 30 days, these inmates are randomly placed on different floors without them even getting to choose where they're gonna go or even knowing what floor they're on until they wake up. So one day they could be on the 10th floor, which is where you would wanna be because that is where the majority of the food is. The higher you are on top, the more food you have, or you end up waking up on floor 200 or 150, which by that point, you're lucky you even have a crumb and you end up starving to death. So our main protagonist, Goreng, starts his first 30 days off with a much older inmate and character named Trimagasi, which shows Goreng the ropes and basically kind of explains to him how the system works. And he even expresses very little hope that Goreng is going to be able to even adapt to the conditions there and even survive. And the reason for that is that because most of the inmates are essentially eating leftovers from the people above. And it's either eating leftovers, starving to death, or there's a third option. And that's where it really gets intense. So I went into this movie not even knowing what I was getting myself into or expecting, and I came out of this movie and it's one of those movies where you just gotta give yourself a timeout and give yourself some space to just reflect on all of the ideas and messages that this movie is trying to convey. And those ideas and concepts is what made me greatly appreciate and enjoy this movie. And I love the performances from the characters, especially the 2 main characters, Goreng and Trimagasi, especially Goreng, because at the beginning of the movie, each inmate is allowed 1 item into the prison, and Goreng brings a book, and it happens to be the story of Don Quixote. And if you're familiar with that story, it's about an average man who is obsessed with chivalry and becoming a knight until he actually becomes one and serves his country. So I thought the book was a good representation of who Goreng was and the possibility and hope for change that he could bring into the system of inequality. And Trimagasi was the most interesting character for me because this guy represented that state of mind that it's survival of the fittest by whatever means necessary. And this old man was insane. He was crazy. He was the most unpredictable character in this movie. Like this could be somebody's uncle right here or grandfather. Like just look at him. Does this look like somebody you'd want to invite over for the family barbecue or Thanksgiving dinner only to tell them you just ate the last slice of pumpkin pie or peach cobbler? Like just look at his face. Hell no. So you better make sure he has something on that plate to eat. That's food. I just love how they take these ideas and concepts and messages and how they illustrate them within the floors of the prison system, because at the very, very top of this prison, you have what looks like a regular restaurant full of professional chefs that are the ones that are actually preparing these dishes and desserts. And if you just see how they interact and how they act, they're perfectionists. They want this food to be perfect, and nothing under perfection is acceptable. Even if you let like a strand of hair fall into a dessert, is disastrous in this movie. So you really get a sense of this entitlement and privilege. That's where you want to be. That is the goal. That is where perfection is. And those chefs seem to represent people who are at the top of the food chain, while, everyone beneath them just kind of gets overlooked and forgotten about. And as, the months go by and these inmates get rotated and the food starts to drop, you start to see these people suffer from starvation, from going crazy. And that's just kind of how our main character ends up. He ends up losing his mind, but he gains an understanding of how the system works, and he tries to come up with a solution that involves getting everyone on each floor to work together. And this is a very great example of how real life is. You only have so much control over your ambitions and your goals. Like, you sometimes only have control of yourself only, your decisions. And it's very difficult to get everyone on that same page, because in reality, people are selfish. And the way those chefs kind of function and work, they kind of represent a capitalist society where they are the decision makers. They're the ones deciding how the food's gonna go down, how it's cooked, what they're gonna make. They are in complete control, while the people below, they don't have any say in the matter. In the beginning of the movie, when these inmates start the interview process, they are asked what their favorite meal is, and they do incorporate those foods into the platform. But I don't see what the point is if they're just gonna be rotated on different floors, and they could be on the bottom of the floor, and by then the meal they chose wouldn't have made it there. Another thing that jumped out at me was just a bit of a sad and disappointing reminder that we don't always get to choose which side of society we're born into. And that is represented with how the inmates are shifted around different floors every 30 days. They don't get to choose whether they're gonna be on the top floor where they get a chance to eat the best of the foods, or at the bottom, starving to death. I just love the determination from Goreng, because this is a man who is not willing to give up until he gets that message sent all the way to the top. And I think that message is plain and simple, that we just can't forget about the people beneath us and those that are less fortunate. So I think I've said enough on this movie. I didn't want to give too much of the plot away or what happens to these characters. I think you should check it out for yourself. It is an excellent movie. It is one that is definitely a reflection on mankind's selfishness. You're definitely gonna come out of this movie feeling like you've learned something. So I'm gonna give The Platform Groovy Juice. Check it out, it's on Netflix. If I had to compare this with any other movie, Snowpiercer is very similar. Also Parasite, you can check out my Parasite review where I actually kind of discuss similar themes. And I will guarantee you will relate to this movie, because this movie looks really familiar. Kind of like COVID quarantine familiar. anyways, movie question of the week. If you were stranded on an island and you could only bring one food item to that island, what food would it be? For me, I think it's obvious. If you've seen the thumbnail, tacos, because I love tacos. Not Taco Bell tacos, real tacos. Let me know down in the comments below. I'm excited to see what your answers would be. And if you did see the movie, let me know what you thought about the movie as well. So if you guys enjoyed this video, it would really help me out if you hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, and share this movie with your friends and family, because it's not about sharing just some random movie review. It's about sharing the message. And I think that's what's important. And with all that being said, I hope you guys are well and that you are safe. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Keep it groovy.